What if the Indominus sibling never died? The Indominus Rex in Jurassic World killed her sibling. This left her being the only hybrid of and led to the events we see take place in Jurassic World. But what if her sibling had never died? Well, for one, there would have been two of them. Here are the possibilities. If they were still both kept in that same enclosure, they would have eventually gone mad and attacked each other constantly. Indy would not have been so aggressive because she would have had social structure. If the Indominus Rex is as intelligent as they say, there would have been two of them working together to escape, and it's not far to imagine them being desperate enough to use each other to climb out of there. And they could have still made scratches, which the humans would take to mean that they were gone, which would result in both of them escaping. Now, let's go back down that list of things to see how this would probably go down. For the first possibility of them being kept in the same enclosure and trying to annihilate one another, had they both been alive, one would have been the dominant one for a time. This would not last because the enclosure would have been too small for them to have kept their sanity, and they would have eventually continuously challenged one another, if anything, for more space. The both of them would have constantly received injury from one another, and eventually they would have had to been separated. Remember, these dinosaurs are seen as merchandise that investors are throwing their money at, so they wouldn't want to showcase a dinosaur that had scratch marks and injuries. Besides, treating the dinosaurs would have been much too expensive, so they would have needed to be separated. If they were separated, this would bring us right back to the events of what happened in Jurassic World. Despite everything, Indy would miss her sibling, and that probably would make her more crazy and desperate to get out of her enclosure. What with them having spent their whole lives together up until that point, she probably would have been able to still hear her sibling roaring and calling out to her, which would have kept them social somewhat, but it would have made them want to reunite. They probably would have worked in unison to escape from their enclosures, which would have ended in disaster. Otherwise, if Indy got out, the first thing she would have done is gone to that enclosure with her sibling, which could have made it easier to capture her. Alternatively, if Indy still rampaged, leaving her sibling behind, everyone would have been more inclined to kill her since they had an extra Indominus Rex. Indy might not have been as aggressive, but if she was kept in that small enclosure and was separated from her sibling, she still would have been dysfunctional. If they had stayed in the same enclosure and got along, they probably wouldn't have been as desperate to escape, but let's say they were, and they did. There would be double the carnage. It would have been more fun because for the first time, they can hunt and destroy together. Being intelligent, both Indominus Rexes would have made it their mission to annihilate everything. Killing the Ankylosaurus would have been much easier, and they would have gone through the park a lot faster, being two of them to kill things quickly. On the other hand, they might not have needed to destroy things because by having each other, they probably would have been more grounded and decided to head straight for the humans instead or try to exit the park together. Now, let's say both siblings were to have survived through the end of the movie. You know what we're talking about, the raptor incident and the Rexy incident. Chances are they both would have chosen to try and recruit the raptors, but they really wouldn't have needed them because, well, they had each other. They could have just easily killed the raptors for fun, but if they didn't, and there were still two of them at the end of the movie where Blue challenges them when they order her to kill Owen, that fight would have been over much quicker. The raptors would have tried to jump onto their backs, and there being two of them, they could literally watch each other's backs and pick off the raptors off of one another. Let's say Blue was left alive at this point. With there being two of the Indominus Rexes, Owen and Claire and the kids would have been killed a long time ago, let's face it, but let's pretend that they all made it towards the end and Claire ended up getting Rexy. This obviously wouldn't have made sense because while one I-Rex is trying to get at the people inside, the other would have seen Claire and given chase. Give me them heels, girl. But let's suppose that both of them are preoccupied with getting inside the building, which they would have done a long time ago, there being two of them. But anyways, I digress. Claire would have had the chance to bring Rexy to the fight. Things would not look very good for Rexy, and her T-Rex most likely would not have charged right away. She would have seen both of the I-Rexes and realized, damn, I'm outnumbered. Indy and her sibling probably would not have attacked Rexy right away either, and would have waited just like Indy did in the film. Rexy would have roared intimidatingly, feeling threatened, but you know Rexy's beast, so she would show no fear. The sibling or Indy feeling protective of one another would charge after Rexy, which would prompt the other one to attack as well. Indy would have used her forearms much the same way she did in the fight with Rexy in Jurassic World, while the other one would have grabbed at Rexy's legs and neck. It would be really hard for Rexy to really get a bite in, because even if she did bite one of the I-Rexes, the other would just ram into her and scratch at her with its forelimbs. Rexy would have been down a lot quicker than she was in the movie, and the I-Rexes, they would have torn her apart. In a case where Indy did not want to particularly kill Rexy right off the bat, because Rexy might have been the only individual she could identify with, things might have been different if she already had her sibling with her, because Indy wouldn't need Rexy because she already had a partner. And because the I-Rexes would have felt more protective of one another, Rexy would have been dead long before Blue regained consciousness to seek revenge. Being angry and outraged, Blue would still wake up later and attack the Indominus Rexes. Blue would have jumped on Indy, and Indy's sibling would have picked her off by the snap of its jaws and killed her. The Mosasaurus would have never eaten the Indominus Rex, and they both would have gone off on their merry way. Isla Nublar is a smaller island, so it would be easier to track them down. Of course, remember, they would have both taken out their trackers, so coupled with their ability to hide thermally and camouflage and not being tracked anymore, the both of them would essentially disappear into the forests. They probably would have not stayed hidden for long, as they are very destructive and big, but engine security might have taken more desperate measures to get rid of them. On the other hand, they could have sought out better means of capturing them. However, with the proverbial cat out of the bag, and because there would be massive lawsuits against the park because of this, it would have been a lost cause to keep the hybrids at least alive. They would have been euthanized and harvested for their DNA, which would have still led us to the events of the Indoraptor being created. It's just that they wouldn't have had to go inside the Mosasaurus tank to get it, so the Mosasaurus would still have been in its tank up until that point. So that's our theory. Of course, this is just the very concise version. Let us know what you guys think. What events do you think would have taken place if the Indominus Rex sibling would have still been alive? Thanks for watching. This has been Alteori. You ask, we finally answered.